Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're going to be going over some new battle rating changes which are going to be coming to the game later on. They're also doing a bunch of changes to stuff like reloads and also belts when it comes to certain vehicles, and also giving certain vehicles more ammunition. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this into 3 separate videos. So we're going to have the aviation video, which will be this one and the first one you see. Then we'll do the ground vehicles video, and then the third video will be the naval, and then also the other changes video. So those are the order of what we're doing things. So simple as that. Hopefully that makes sense. I'm going to try my best to show all of this stuff on the screen. Feedback is always appreciated when it comes to how to set everything up on the screen. I've been trying to I'm trying to find ways of being able to show all the info without taking over the screen, but we'll see how it goes. Anyway, let's get into them. The first set of changes are a welcome one, and they're basically about the F104s. Now, also understand I'm going to be covering realistic because that's the game mode that I play. Basically, they are reshuffling around the F104s, which is really good. We talked about this a few weeks ago, actually, how the F104's BRs make absolutely no sense at the moment, especially after the default changes when it comes to their stock loadouts. So the F104J is going from 10.7 to 10.3. The F104J doesn't have countermeasures. It has quite nice missiles, but once again, doesn't have countermeasures. So it's very hard to deal with high-tier vehicles when they launch missiles at you, because you have one mode that you can do: go fast. You can't really turn or do anything like that, especially when you're trying to maintain speed with the F104. So it's not going to work too well with it. Then you have the F104Gs, so this is the German one and the Italian one. They are going from 10.3 to 10.7. This is a fantastic change. The only difference between the two F104Gs is the Italian one can hold 2 AIM-9Js and the German one can hold 4 AIM-9Js. So the German one is better, but you basically play them in the same way. My KDs in them are ridiculous. I'm 5 or 6 to 1 in them, and also have high win rates when it comes to the German one, at least. Overall, I've spaded these vehicles over the last week or two. They're insanely strong right now, to a point where it is a bit ridiculous. So for me to see these changes, these are fantastic. Maybe worth having a look at a few of the other 10.7 F104s and maybe bringing them down to 10.3. But at least right now, this is a very, very positive change. The F105 is going up, which is kind of surprising. I'm not going to lie. It's going from 9.7 to 10.0. And I suppose, it makes sense to go up because, it's a really, really good strike aircraft, and also has access to, air-to-air munitions as well. On stuff like the larger maps and air realistic, it's pretty much able just to annihilate everything. When it comes to, bases, or when it comes to the AI, it's very fast, so it could be kind of hard to catch, but even after grounding it, it seems like it's still in a really, really good place. So seeing it go up in BR is a surprise after its grounding, but I did say also when it came out at 9.7 it didn't fit at all. So not too surprising from that point. I just thought the nerf to it being grounded would mean that other planes would have more of a chance of getting into position, and maybe that is the case, but the Thunder Chief is still doing very well. So seeing it go up is surprising, but also at the same time I can understand why. The Lightning F6 is going down from 9.7 to 9.3. The Lightning F6 has been in a very weird place for a very, very long time. It doesn't have countermeasures, so if you get jumped on, you die, because there's a bunch of missiles from 10.0 to 10.3, which are really, really strong against you, and you are not fast enough anymore to be able to get away from stuff. The F104s, for example, which are at 10.3, would annihilate something like a Lightning F6. The MiG-21 SMT would also annihilate it, the A5C as well. So a lot of options just to just kill the thing. You know, the Lightning F6 has to rely on two things. The first one is general straight line speed, which it isn't fast enough anymore at 9.7, and then also it has to rely on its missiles, which are unreliable at best, especially nowadays, because they're more long-range versions of missiles, so you need better setup for them. So to see this thing go down is not too much of a surprise, but at the same time, it is a showing of the issue with BR decompression, right? And we've talked about this in the past, you know, where hopefully eventually BRs will get decompressed, and I've never found a person who wants them to be more compressed than they are. And there are obviously a bunch of other factors at play, but whenever I bring this stuff up, I get shouted at. At the same time, this is kind of a showing of the issues when it comes to this system. The Lightning F6 will be fine at 9.3. I think it'll do really well. You know, it's combat. Its main issues is facing stuff like 10.3s at 9.7, just like how a lot of 9.7s have struggling times against 10.3s. So moving them more out of that bracket will, you know, improve them a lot. The F86Ks, so the standard F86K, then the Italian and German one, they're going from 9.3 to 9.0. This is completely fine. The F86s are in a horrible position and have been for an incredibly long time. Generally, it's just a setup of vehicles which they feel actually quite fun to fly, but you can understand why people don't fly them, because you just go against superior opposition and they just eat you alive. So it's not too surprising to see these go down. Hopefully this won't affect too many other brackets too much. I don't think it will. I think some other 9.3s should go down. Some of the other sabers as well, like the F40s. And you know, and the idea is to try and make 9.0 an actual BR. Because right now 9.0 isn't a BR, because all the 9.0s get up-tiered into 9.7 or 10.0 a lot. And what happens is you just get eaten. So the F86 is going down. I don't actually think makes too much of a difference unless more changes are made to try and strengthen that 9.0, 9.3 area so people actually want to play those vehicles. And right now, it's just not you know, there to play. Then we have a bunch of Vampire changes. So the A28B, which is the Swedish Vampire, it's going from 8.0 to 8.3. And the Vampire FB52A and the Vampire FB5 are going from 7.7 to 8.0. Now, the Vampires, I don't think they should go up in BR. And this is based on a realistic. In ground realistic, you know, they can go up in BR. Because what you have with the Vampires, especially the British one, is you have a vehicle which is capable of getting into the fight at very low altitude, dropping 2 1,000-pounders, which basically gives you a guaranteed kill, and then you can dogfight over the battle area and you can be very successful at it. But in air realistic, we're getting the Venom syndrome again, and it's not very fun. The Venom still hasn't gone down in BR, by the way. It's still at 8.7. The Sea Venom has gone down, thank God, so that's actually usable now. But the Venom is staying at 8.7, and it's just a horrible vehicle, because people keep turn fighting it. Stop turn fighting them, and you'll eat them alive. These vehicles, like the Vampire, like the Venom, they get 2 BRs where it just becomes impossible to be able to turn fight things, and then you just die. The Saber Dog was in a similar position at 9.3. The Sabers at 9.3 are in a similar position as well. You can't defensively fly enough because you don't have the energy to be able to punish the enemy for screwing up, because they have way more energy or have way more energy potential than you do. And I don't want that to happen to the Vampires, because they're super fun to play, and generally they are like quite good machines at that specific playstyle. But the higher and higher BR they go, that playstyle becomes worse and worse, because you start going up against more powerful engines, and then everything starts falling apart. Then you've also got the F89B, F89D, and F84B. The F89B is going down from 7.7 to 7.3, the F89D is going from 7.3 to 7.0, and the F84B is going from 7.3 to 7.0. These F89s seem to move around in BR all the time. They sometimes go up, they sometimes go down, like they're just all over the place, and I don't really know why. They seem pretty decent machines with very good top speed, but I see a lot of people trying to turn fight with them and trying to engage at too short of distance. It might be the fact that they're premiums, might be the fact that, you know, they don't really have a defined playstyle. So they're very good machines. I'm kind of surprised to see them go down, but as I said, these things seem to fluctuate a lot. The F84B, I wouldn't personally put down. And the reason for this is because of its use in ground forces. In ground forces, the F84B can be a very devastating machine, especially if they give it more and more independent bomb drops. So it can be super useful in that role itself. And putting it down in BR just means that it's going to clobber stuff like 6.0s, and they're going to have no repercussions to be able to stop it. So yeah, that 7.0 lineup for America, it is pretty premium heavy, but it is also pretty fun as well at the same time. The HE162s go down in BR. They're going from 6.3 to 6.0. The HE162s are terrible. They are literally just darts of the sky with guns attached. They feel horrible to fly. They have very unreliable engines, and I'm not surprised to see them go down in BR again. It will get to a point, so this is one of the counter things. You know how I was talking about like the vampires, where they're going to go up in BR to a point where they won't be able to effectively defensively fly because stuff will have more energy potential than them. Well, the HE162s and also the F84 are going to have the opposite problem. They're going to have too much energy or too much speed, so people can't deal with them because they can't catch them and kill them. It's something that happened when the F104 was added to the game, where basically they could just zoom in and zoom out of situations and nothing could touch them. It's exactly the same idea when it comes to this stuff. So yeah, it's a little bit worrying, but I don't think you have to worry about a 162. It's very easy to defensively fly against them, you know, and as long as they don't have crazy amounts of energy compared to you, should be fine. They also don't have very good multi-role capability, so they're not going to be used in ground or anything like that. It's only going to be in aerialistic. The G8N1 is also going up in BR. No surprise, really. The Death Star is still a very good machine. You just don't see it that often. You know, it's very easy in that thing just to spawn in, turn 90 degrees, climb at a 5-degree angle, and then, you know, wait 5 minutes, go to the bases, do that, and then if anything approaches you, just lasering it down with your 20s. It's a really, really nice machine. Works fantastically well, and generally you just don't see it that often. The Focke-Wulf 190s, the D9 variant specifically, so the premium one and then the one in the Soviet tech tree, are going from 5.3 to 5.0, meaning that they're going to be even stronger than they were before. I really like the Dora series. It's an incredibly fun set of vehicles. They fixed the elevators as well on the Focke-Wulfs in general a while back, making them a lot more fun. But the Dora does have a bit of an issue, especially with the D9. The setup on it can be a bit annoying. So if you're not fully there when it comes to the setup of the vehicle, you generally will not do as well as you would in other scenarios. So what I mean by the setup of the Focke-Wulf 190 is because of its high-speed performance, it can go quite fast, but it also locks up quite hard. So you have to, when setting up on an enemy, make sure that you're in the completely correct position to be able to gun it down with your guns, which, you know, there's a little bit less firepower there than other machines, but it's still completely fine. And I'm guessing people are kind of screwing up that, you know, boom and zoom idea from the Focke-Wulf. We've seen a lot of these types of fighters go down in BR over the last maybe year or two, and this is just another one. You know, another boom and zoomer that reduces in BR. You kind of see it as similar to the I-225, but, well, a better machine in general. And to counter the boom and zoomers going down in BR, the turn fighters are going up in BR. So we're continuing with the usual trend. The A6 M5 Otsu is going from 5.0 to 5.3. The A6 M3 Mod 22 Co is going from 4.7 to 5.0, and the A6 M5 Co, the A6 M6C, and the A6 M5 are all going from 4.7 to 5.02. So finally, these Zeros go up in BR. They are fantastic vehicles, by the way, the Zeros, and it's very easy to fight against them, but people screw it up constantly, meaning that they get stuck in turn fights against Zeros and they die. One of the major things that kind of screws people when it comes to Zeros is the Zero can climb really well. So if the Zero gets above a person, they kind of panic. And instead of, disengaging and then, leaving, what they try and do is a head-on, or they try and, go past it, and then the Zero can just follow them after the head-on and kill them. It's much better to disengage and reset up. Most vehicles will deal with Zeros better at higher altitudes, but generally, it's not a surprise to see these things go up. The meta of aerialistic for a long time has bees around a honeypot, so basically because of that, turn fighters are just going to get stronger and stronger and stronger, and that's all we see here when it comes to it. The other vehicle as well is the G55 Soto Series Zero. That one also has gone up from 4.0 to 4.3. Not too much of a surprise. The Italian vehicles in general are very, very strong. So they work fantastically well. And then we have a bunch of bombing changes that make no sense. The Key 67s are going up in BR from 4.3 to 4.7 and 4.0 to 4.3. I've no idea why. They're awful. They don't have a lot of speed. Their bomb loads are terrible. Their armaments are just all over the place. I'm very confused by the Key 67 changes. Most of those Japanese bombers are really tough to play because, as I said, they have limited bomb loadouts, and also when it comes to them, they have wonky defensive armaments to keep yourself alive. So if you don't play them in a very specific way to not die, then you die. The Sterling's going down, though, from 4.3 to 4.0. Very positive change. The Sterling should have gone down in BR a very long time ago. It's one of the easiest bombers to kill, and it can't really defend itself. I'd love to see the Manchester in game at some point. The Year 2s are all going down in BR, or at least most of them, which you can't actually get anymore, the TAT versions and the Lu. But the M105 is also going down in BR. So they're going down from 4.0 to 3.7. Not too much of a surprise on them. The Year 2s are very slow. So they've got outshone by a lot of bombers, which are around. They still have a really powerful bomb load, though. So in something like ground realistic, they could really annihilate a lot if a whirlwind doesn't exist. The HAK3 goes up in BR. I suppose you'd call it a battleship. It has a lot of 20s on it, and generally can defend itself pretty well. Bomb load's still pretty lacking on it, though, when it comes to its just overall usefulness. The Key 61 Otsu and the Key 44 Too High are going up in BR, two vehicles which have really good performance. The limiting factor on them is armament, and generally if people learn how to use the armament, which you have to in certain areas, the vehicles can do really well. So not a surprise at all to see those go up in BR. They're fantastic vehicles, and going up with the other Japanese vehicles. Finally, a lot of Japanese vehicles will be at the BRs, or at least close to the BRs where they should be. The HAK2 also goes up in BR from 3.3 to 3.7, following the HAK3, no surprise. B18B also goes up to 3.7. Once again, no surprise there. The vehicle works incredibly well in War Thunder as a multi-role vehicle. The C205 also goes up, following its G55 brother. It's going from 3.3 to 3.7. No surprise there either. And also at the same time, a lot of these changes seem to be more about the fact that, we got 11.3, was it like a few updates ago? So now a lot of the mid-tiers are also trying to spread themselves out and therefore decompressing them a little bit. And that's pretty much what's going on here when we have a lot of stuff going from 4.0 to 3.7, but a lot of stuff going from 3.3 to 3.7 and also 4.3 to 4.0. They're obviously trying to make certain BR brackets be relevant again, trying to mix up the meta, so therefore it isn't just the stale playing against the same vehicles over and over again and getting hammered or not getting hammered. The Focke-Wulf 190A1 is going from 3.3 to 3.0. Not sure about that change. The Focke-Wulf has a very powerful engine, but does have weird characteristics when it comes to its flight capabilities. So maybe people are struggling with it, but I think overall it's not bad. The P3 BIS goes down in BR. Those P3s and P2s can go down as much as they want. They're always going to be terrible. They don't fit the game very well. The P39Q5 also goes down in BR. I disagree with this change. The P39Q is a fantastic vehicle. Works incredibly well when it comes to the game, just like all the other P39s, so that thing could easily become a very, very good air superiority fighter. They're also moving a ton of stuff from 2.7 and 3.0, so the Ju-88A4 is going from 3.0 to 3.3, no surprise there. It's got a very good bomb load and also quite fast for a general bomber. We've seen a lot of these types of bombers go up in BR, not just in this BR changes, but in a bunch of other ones as well. The P39N-0 is going down in BR as well. Looks like the P39s really aren't doing well at the moment. The BF110C7 also is going down in BR. The BF110s are always weird when it comes to those BRs because they have really good multi-role capability. So they can either be really, really good or they can be in a situation where they don't really fit too well. The C7's more of just a heavy fighter version because it doesn't get as many multi-role capabilities, but it's still pretty strong in that general role. The Beaufighter Mark 1 with the 40s is going down in BR. Not a surprise, it's trash. That thing's just going to follow the same route as stuff like the Key 109, where it's just going to keep going down and down and down until it can't go down anymore. The BF109 E3 is going from 2.7 to 2.3. Very surprising about this. The E3 is one of my favorites fighters at low BR. So to see it go down, I suppose it takes it away from that 3.7 bracket, which would be quite nice for it, but I don't think it needs it. I thought it was perfectly fine at the 2.7 area. But yeah, it might be one to check out again. The Italians, so the C202, C202EC, and C202D are all going from 2.7 to 3.0. Not a surprise at all. I've talked about it many times how the C202 is a fantastic trainer aircraft. And what I mean by that is it's good at all roles. So it's more about what your opponent is able to do in that setup. So if you are a person who is... If you're a person who is, trying to learn aerialistic, the BF109 E1 or the C202 is a fantastic vehicle to use because it's more about what your enemy can do instead of what your plane is capable of doing. It's about matching your strengths versus their weaknesses, and it's just really good for that stuff. Also, the C202 for Germany is going from 2.7 to 3.0, and the Key 44 Tuatsu is going from 2.7 to 3.0. So all kind of very good fighters are just going up from the Axis nations, showing the power that they've had for a very, very long time. The F4 is also going up in BR, surprisingly. And that's going up from 2.7 to 3.0. Don't agree with this one at all. It's got very good weaponry, but it struggles in its actual flight characteristics against a lot of the other vehicles. So I think, if anything, I would probably put it down in BR, weirdly enough. They're also putting down some other vehicles and putting up some others. So the P400 is going from 2.3 to 2.0. The vehicle might not be doing too well in air realistic, but in ground realistic, the P400 is very, very strong. With its 50 cals and its 20, you can kill a lot of vehicles from the top. So might be worth having a look at that vehicle when it comes to ground lineups. The Key 43-2 is going from 2.0 to 2.3. It's the US one, and it's following the Key 43-1 from the Japanese, going from 2.0 to 2.3. Once again, stop turn fighting these things. They'll just kill you. So try your best to extend and then get away from them and then either head on or try and run them out of energy because they'll just eat you alive. The C200s are going up in BR. What? Why? Why are the C200s going up in BR? Who is donking on people in the C200s? Some of these BR changes are super odd. A lot of the ones for Germany, I don't really necessarily agree with. The HE111 H3 is going up in BR. I mean, that's fine. It's going to 2.3. Generally it's a decent bomber with a good payload, and it looks beautiful as well, which is always a nice addition. The B-17A is going down in BR from 2.0 to 1.7, completely fine. It's not very good. We've talked about it before. A lot of the lower tier light bombers have gone down in BR because they're just not as good as the medium or heavies, so nobody takes them. And in ground forces, it's still better just to take the heavies. The Focke-Wulf 189, the Uhu, is going up in BR from 2 to 2.3. It actually makes sense to me, even though it's got limited armament. It spawns in the air, which is very, very powerful for that BR range. The C-200 Series 3 as well is going up in BR from 2.0 to 2.3. So some people must be doing stuff in those that I just don't know how to do, because maybe that's how it is. But I don't understand that change at all. The Key 45 Co is also going from 1.7 to 2.0. Not too much of a surprise. The Key 45 Co is the best Key 45 for its BR, so seeing it go up and seeing all the others go down is no surprise at all to me. They're also doing some helicopter changes, which I think are generally welcomed. The UH-1B for Japan is going from 8.0 to 7.7, and the AB205A1 is going from 8.0 to 7.7. These are two very limited helicopters because they only have a very small amount of rockets on them, and that's it. So to see them go down is no surprise to me. I'm completely fine with it. Hopefully we get some other vehicles which will also go down in BR if they are ever added to the game with very limited armaments, but I don't think these things are going to take over games now, now that they're at 7.7. Also, at the same time, these things face a lot of vehicles with 50 cals, so they'll just get gunned down anyway. The Gazelles are going down in BR, finally. The SA341F and the SA342M. The F going to 9.0 and the M going to 9.3. These things should have gone down in BR a very long time ago. They are not good aircraft. They are very limited in its armament. What you're seeing here with a lot of these helicopter changes is the ones which are supremely limited when it comes to their armaments are going down in BR. The Mi-24D is going from 9.3 to 9.0 as well, so obviously that one's not doing too well either. When it comes to helicopters, right now the ones that I've seen do really well, obviously they're top tier ones because they're the best, the K50, K52, the UHT, and also stuff such as the Apaches, they're all doing fantastic. And then also the Alouette and the Scout helicopter for the British. Those so far seem to be the powerful ones. All the rest I hardly ever see, so it's kind of hard to make a word on them. Now, that is all of the changes for Aviation. Most of these I agree with. It kind of sucks for the Vampires, I'm not going to lie, and the D9 as well. Going down in BR is a bit odd. But you can see, once again, general trends. Turn fighters or overall fighters are being very much favoured over energy fighters or boom and zoom fighters, which is fair. And the F104 is going up is good. The F105 going up overall I think is pretty good. And the bombers going up is not too much of a surprise either. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you next time. I'd just like to thank Merciless Reaper, Jerry Provolt, Mega Dino King, Professor X1718, Orange Tail, Sakoshi Tiger, Teddy, John Ryman, Universe, Eugens Terry, Ambrosius McClellan, Daniel Stanton, Martinez, Moxie, B. Young, and Derek R. Barine, Lafouche, and Samuel Slick for supporting the channel.